Hello and welcome back to DTH Reviews. We have got quite a few new subscribers since our last review, so I thought we would just quickly reintroduce ourselves. My name is Joe.
And I am Jamison.
And just a quick disclaimer before we get into the review. We are two different guys from the Mythbuster team. Two guys do Mythbusters, us two fellas do DTH Reviews. Just thought I would clear that up just so all the new viewers are up to date. So let's move on to the big one, we're going to call it. The big review of...
the year, probably.
Yeah, mate, yeah, probably. Definitely the biggest review we've done so far. It's probably going to be the longest review we've ever done. And obviously, you know, it is Grand Theft Auto 5. I think a good place to start is the setting. Let's start with Los Santos, San Andreas. So, okay, do you want to kick off? Like, what was your first impression when you loaded up the game, once you installed it, once the game finally loaded, and you got past the first mission, and then you're finally in the world of Los Santos. What did you think of it compared to past GTAs?
You can see things, and it's colorful. That's the biggest change from Grand Theft Auto 4. There's not this like horrible dreariness to it all that was really, really welcome. It's right out of the gate. It's just like a completely different feel from 4 in the best way possible. And holy crap, you can see a long ways. Yeah,
the draw distance is very impressive, especially for Xbox 360. I guess that's what the install was for, to make it actually work on on this old piece of technology. But yeah, the tech was impressive. It looked nice. The graphics wise, it was pretty nice looking as well.
Yeah, I honestly pretty impressed as someone that spends a lot of time on a PC. It's kind of an achievement, you know, just the fact that you can go everywhere without, once you get past that month-long load time to load into the game. Once you're in it, you know, you just go, and it's pretty crazy how well it runs and how good it looks and how much detail there is. And yeah, the city is really impressive. And then after like 2 hours of bombing around the city, you teleport over to Trevor and realize that there's like 3 times the area of the city is just this open country, you know, and it's friggin' gigantic.
Yeah, the hype of how big the map is really, the game really lives up to it. I think, as you said, the level of detail needs to be commended. No street or mountain looks the same. And yeah, as you said, when you skip over to Trevor, it's a really nice change of pace. The city and the, let's say, the deserty plain type of area, they play very differently. The people change, the amount of vehicles that drive around change. So when you're in the city, you got these nice kind of posh fast cars, and you nick them, and you're kind of skipping around the city, weaving in and out of traffic. While when you go over to the deserty plains, a lot of the cars are kind of off-road type vehicles. So you're kind of revving up mountains and doing jumps, and it's just completely different depending on where you are. And there's wild animals in the deserty area, which I had no idea about.
Yeah.
I was very alarmed the first time I got attacked by I don't know what you call it, a cougar or a mountain lion.
Yeah, the country is like, it's so freeing, you know, after a 4 where it was really, you know, it was all in a city and you couldn't...
I think most of them have been, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, aside...
Very little wildlife.
Yeah, aside from like Red Dead Redemption, there hasn't really been a lot of really open world games from Rockstar. You know, they've always pretty much been contained in a city, except for San Andreas, of course. But yeah, the countryside is a total blast and like overwhelmingly huge. There's just so much stuff to go and do, and we've spent, I think, both of us around like over 40 hours already.
Oh yeah, I'm coming up to 40 hours.
Yeah, and it's sort of just now it's like, oh okay, yeah, I've finally scratched the surface of things to do.
I think they do a very good job of making the world feel alive.
Yes.
I think when it comes to modern games, if you can make the world feel alive, that's like a technical achievement. They have some pretty dynamic stuff, like events will happen in the background as you're just, you know, waltzing around. The civilians are programmed pretty funny. They react to what you do, and they swear at you if you're getting too close and stuff. The police will chase people around in the background.
Those are yeah, I love that. The first time that happened, it was just, I was like going to get some clothes, and this guy came bombing around the corner with 2 police cars behind him, and he crashed into a palm tree, and a shootout started right behind me.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little things like that really make it feel alive, and the attention to detail is almost unmatched by any other game. especially for its size. They've thought of everything, you know, even from the little tinking of the car engine when you turn the car off.
Yeah.
Like little things like that add so much to making the world feel real.
I enjoyed the random events as well. They're nothing significant, but there's some surprising ones in there. If you don't know, they're just like they kind of a blip on the radar, and then you can kind of interact with people. It's usually just getting someone's money back, but they have surprising what do you call it, repercussions.
Yeah, the ones in the city are all sort of similar, except for maybe one or two. But I know there are some where you can get, I mean, a random encounter can get you a crew member for your heists, which is...
Yeah, I had one of those. I rescued her on the road. But I just think it's something that they just didn't need to do, but they did, if you know what I mean. And it's just... I think it's a good example of things that Rockstar added to the game, which even if it wasn't there, and you never knew it was going to be there, you wouldn't have enjoyed it any less. It's just almost they added so much extra stuff that you didn't need. But it's just insane the amount they gave to the audience that they could have just done without and people would still enjoyed it. So
yep.
I think
it's sort of like the ultimate. You really didn't have to put this in game, but you did anyway, and it really all just adds up to be kind of overwhelming for the first like 25 hours.
I think this is almost like a theme of things that Rockstar didn't have to do, but they did. I was very surprised by the extensiveness of the internet you can access over your mobile. That was surprising. I think some things they did with the internet emphasizes what we said earlier about making the world feel alive, like how the news would update via what you did in the missions, how their version of Twitter would also update depending on if you interacted with celebrities, stuff like that. The stocks also changed depending on if you blow up a lot of vehicles, the insurance stocks will go up.
The stock market, the ability to play and manipulate the stock market is amazing. I've spent way too much time messing with it, and
that's never been done before. I've never seen it anywhere, so that was crazy. If we quickly talk about Grand Theft Auto 4, I liked the shooting and driving personally in 4.
Really?
Yeah, like I know there were some complaints about the driving in 4.
I came to really enjoy the driving, even though it was kind of ridiculous.
Well, in 4 or 5?
In 4, yeah.
Right.
After a while, once you get used to it, it's actually kind of rewarding when you start driving properly and you know, figure out how to handle corners. But it was still a frustration. But the gunplay and movement in 4 were my biggest problem with 4. Like it just didn't. Okay. It just felt really loose, and it was always like a challenge to play. I found, especially the shooting, like the shooting just felt really, it just didn't feel right, and I'm not sure why, but I think it was, you know, the auto aim was really weird, and the movement, and I don't know, it's just a combination of things that 4, when shooting things, didn't feel right, whereas 5, they just basically took the Max Payne 3 gameplay and put it into 5, and it works fantastically.
Yeah, feels very good.
I think the gunplay is really, really good. If you turn off, you know, the ridiculous auto aim onto just sort of the second level down from auto aim. I mean, it's kind of ridiculously easy because you can just, you know, pull the left trigger over and over again, and you just snap to anyone. But it feels so much better, and the movement feels so much better, and the driving feels so good.
Yeah.
The driving, I think the handling of the cars really reminded me of Burnout Paradise. Like, it's a certain fine line of really loose and floaty, but also really tight. Like, you can do a lot of really tight maneuvering, but you can also really, you know, kick the back end out really easily. And like, after 5 minutes, the driving, you can do pretty much anything, and you're used to it, and it feels really, really good. I was really happy with how everything played, like gunplay, movement, driving. It all feels, I don't know, it feels like they have made huge progress, which is something I was really worried about.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think it plays very well. I like the gunplay. As you said, the snapping to the targets was quite.
It's pretty generous.
It is, but you don't have a whole lot of life. You die pretty easily when you're against quite a few enemies, so you know you have to make use of cover. So I think it balances out pretty well in the end. And as you said, driving, I remember crashing a lot during the first 5 to 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. It does take a slight. It takes a bit of getting used to. You have to kind of tweak your settings to it, but it's very satisfying by the end of it. When you pull off a high-speed handbrake turn, it's very satisfying.
Yeah.
What did you think of the flying controls? Because I really...
The planes, I like the planes.
Me too.
The planes are straightforward and, you know...
it's difficult, though, but happily difficult.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's a little disorienting sometimes when you're turning or if you try to move the right stick to look around, but it feels pretty okay for me. But the friggin' helicopters, man.
Exactly what I was waiting for you to say.
I just got a handle on them last night. Just sort of. I just started to figure out, like, okay, if I just go, like, really slow, then I don't wobble around like a motherfucker all over the place.
I really didn't enjoy that because I loved it in 4. Online in 4 was great.
Yeah, the helicopters felt really good in 4. And they just are weird in 5. Like, there's just, you know, the back and forth sort of wobbling of the whole helicopter and the forward momentum that is really hard to stop, and the few missions where you're required to do like precise things with a helicopter are probably some of the lower points because it was just trial and error. Like, oh, am I gonna make this properly this time? Nope, I destroyed the helicopter.
Yeah,
okay, I'll retry this. So
I'm not sure why it felt so like you didn't have much control over it. It didn't feel precise.
Yeah, it just sort of feels like you're about to completely lose control of the thing at any second the whole time you're flying.
Like, I love the plane controls. It was tricky. Landing the plane, you had to line up well and you had to time the deceleration without stalling. It was difficult, but it was satisfying and it felt good. But yeah, there's something about the helicopter controls that I just really didn't like, even after playing for quite a long time. I still haven't quite got the knack of it. Obviously, it's not enough to make this game anything less than amazing, but yeah, I think when it comes to controls, you know, we talked about driving, shooting. I think the helicopter specifically is the only thing I would say I did not enjoy out of everything.
How do you think the 3 playable characters work? Like, I think going into 5, you know, Rockstar doesn't show a lot or talk a lot about the game going into them. You know, they put out a couple trailers and they show some gameplay like a month before release, but it's always, I felt going into 5 like I still wasn't 100% sure like what this game was.
Yeah.
Especially with the 3 playable characters. Like, I wasn't sure how that was going to affect gameplay or the story, and we'll get to the story stuff later, but I think it really is a lot of fun for the gameplay, having the different abilities for the 3 different characters, and then in mission, when you get to the missions that allow you to just switch between characters whenever you want, it really makes for a lot of fun, I think.
I think you're right. I think they did a good job with it. Like, when they showed some of the footage, I was a bit unsure about how it was going to work. But it was fun and it was interesting. When you're just kind of perusing around the city outside of missions, it was very entertaining to just switch over to Trevor and seeing him chucking someone off a bridge or being chased by the police. That was always entertaining. And as you said...
Yeah, the character switches are really good. I've only seen one repeat of a character switch so far, and it was Trevor pulling his head out of a sink full of water. And I mean, you know, there are like similar ones with Franklin. He seems to always just be walking out of some building.
Yeah.
But it never is the same place. And, you know, 40 hours in of character switching, it still impresses me that I haven't seen the same thing repeated more than once. You know, I've seen one thing repeated and that was it. And that's kind of crazy.
When you're in missions, I thought it was going to be less... It was quite instructing to say. Like, you're in a mission and it will literally tell you, switch to Trevor, because he's a sniper and he's got to do this, and now it says, switch to Michael, he's driving. I thought there would be a bit more freedom, and as you get further into the game, there is a little bit more freedom where you can choose who to be. I thought it was going to start a bit earlier on, and I thought maybe missions would require like experimenting, like say you're using the wrong character, but it kind of wasn't like that. But even though it isn't how I expect it to be, it's still really good fun. It really varies the missions up.
Yeah, for the main missions, they definitely use that switching to make for a really cinematic experience right through. And by keeping it all playable as well, you know, they can create these really cool scenarios, especially in the heists, which are the best part of the whole game.
Damn.
But yeah, I agree. The character switching, it was really scripted, or really, you know, it never really bothered me because every time I switched, it would be like, oh, cool, now I'm going to go do this and help him. And yeah, I thought it worked really well, and I was really unsure about it going in. And
yeah, should we transition into the main missions in the game? Should we just skip right to the heist, because that's and leave the other missions as surprises and stuff? So if you know anything, well, everyone's probably played the game by now. There's probably about 5 people on this planet who haven't played it. But yeah, the heists are very exciting. I didn't know there'd be as much preparation and choice to what you did. Like, you get to pick your crew members, you get to pick the approach. So I thought that was very neat, a very nice aspect. It kind of made it feel pretty personal, and it was quite a bit more satisfying when you completed it, because you felt like you had quite a lot to do with it.
The heists, I think the heists are the best thing in the whole game, and like the best the most interesting and exciting thing they've done with the game, or like the most exciting thing they could have done with the game was adding these heists in, and they make for really, really awesome missions.
Epic.
Like, the leading up to them is really cool, and the fact that you can go as far to like picking your exact getaway vehicle and parking it wherever the hell you want to.
It really builds up the excitement as well, getting ready for it.
Yeah, and then once you get into the heist, you know, you can choose to do the heists quiet, and I did them all smart, quiet, and almost all of them went off without a hitch, without ever having to fire a shot, and that was
nice.
Incredibly rewarding, and it's like the closest thing to Heat the game when they get to these missions. It's sort of what I wanted.
I haven't seen that film. No spoilers. I haven't seen that film. It's on my watch list.
My God,
I'm sorry. It's really long.
You have to go watch it today, because you'll realize how much they have watched Heat while making this game. Like, some of the heists are taken. One of the heists is taken right out of Heat, which is great. And it's sort of what I wanted Payday 2 to be. Like, I just wanted a real proper bank robbing simulator that makes you feel cool, and this is it. Like, there's a lot of, you know, choice in it, but at the same time there isn't a lot of choice in how you approach the heists, but they just make for the coolest parts of the whole game. And, you know, just the tension leading up to the heists, and the getaways, and the tension of whether or not your whole crew is going to get out. And it's, yeah, the heists are great, and if it wasn't in the game it would still be a great game, but the heists really make it special.
We haven't talked about characters yet. We've been saving this, so this is
yeah, story and characters.
Yeah, story and characters. Well, I think we should just leave the story as kind of goes along the path of the heist, so we'll leave that in case people haven't gone. But I think my favorite part of the story was the relationship and the character building of the 3 main characters you can switch between. And it kind of breaks down to, you have Franklin, who is kind of the child of the gang, the up-and-comer, who Michael takes under his wing. And then it's, as I just said, Michael, who is the midlife crisis part of the game.
Retired criminal suffering from a shitty family.
And his his sub-story with his psychiatrist and his family was not expected, and it was a change of pace, and it was interesting. And then you have Trevor, who is just balls to the wall, wild cards, murder, rampage, crazy. Yeah,
he is both hilarious and utterly horrifying from time to time.
Yeah, he's terrifying and hilarious.
But yeah, the characters, like, Rockstar's always been really good at writing good characters, and
all the characters feel ridiculously real. I think Rockstar's always been capable of doing immaculate voice acting and character building. So
yeah, they continue that never-ending trend of being really, really funny. Like, it is a hilarious game from time, like, quite often, but it also can get really, really dark, and they do it all really, really well.
Yeah, you meet some amazing characters.
Yeah, and it's not 10 hours too long.
I still don't understand why you thought GTA 4 was 10 hours too long. I think maybe I just enjoyed it more.
I felt like 10 hours is a bit of an exaggeration, but I felt like 4 and Red Dead Redemption were both, they just felt a little padded in the middle. Like, it just, if it was like 6 or 7 hours shorter, it would have felt a bit tighter. And I don't know, that's just me. I do think, like, both of those games went on for a little too long. Just, I don't know, and I think mainly that's because there's just one playable character, and so the 3 playable characters really helps alleviate that in this, I think. I mean, the campaign is pretty much the same length as the previous 2 games. It's like 30 hours long.
Yeah.
But it feels the perfect length because there are the 3 characters, and because they all are off doing their own things at times, and you don't, like, to me it was like sort of, I got bored of playing as Nico or John Marston after a while. After like 25 hours of the same dude saying the same things and being the same character, it sort of gets a little tiring. Whereas the 3 characters really help make it feel like a shorter game, even though it's not. And the variety of their personalities really helps the length not feel overly long. And so I think this is the first of their open world games this gen that feels like the perfect length. And that's purely because of the 3 playable characters and their different stories.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Spoilers! Don't watch.
Spoiler!
Please.
Spoilers! We're gonna talk about stuff. Don't listen if you haven't played them. This is the ending. This is it.
There's an annotation and there's a thing in the description if you haven't completed
look at the description,
game.
look at the screen, click on the annotation. Spoilers, spoilers, spoilers. Here we go. There was a few standout missions that were very cinematic. That one where you're chasing Molly, who's stolen that film reel, and you're going across the airplane, and the cars are flying up in the air, and that was crazy.
And then she gets pureed by the engine.
Yeah, some pretty
there were some really
missions.
cool missions, and I think some of the coolest missions involved planes, like going into the cargo plane and
that was crazy.
Chasing the crashing plane down.
Oh yeah, so many crazy missions. Yeah, it was epic.
Yeah, there were
play it again.
There's such great variety in the missions and in the heists, and the main campaign never once gets boring. It's always really cool. And how did you feel about the torture scene?
It was a bit. I didn't really like it too much. It
sort of felt a little.
It was like, I know
forced.
Rockstar push boundaries and they can because they're Rockstar. They're like the South Park of video games, but it wasn't. No, it was a bit too much for me personally. Some people probably got some kicks out of it, some sadistic bastards out there, but no, it was a bit unnecessary. And
it didn't really bother me, like it was, but no. It sort of felt like unnecessary. So how about that ending?
So so the ending sets up where your Franklin and Devlin comes around, Devin, whatever his stupid name is, and he comes around and gives you a choice of either, well, not a choice, he asks you to kill Michael, and then the FIB guy asks you to kill Trevor, and then he basically says, or you can just all die from not doing it. And it's a strange choice because it seems obvious.
Yeah.
Like, by the end of the game, you're so, like, passionately brotherly.
There's so much loyalty between the 3 of them, and it's just how can I possibly kill either of these people? And I think the third choice, ending C, where you go out, you go and kill every one of your enemies, is the only ending. I think the other 2 just don't feel appropriate.
Yeah, they're terrible. I mean, I watched them on YouTube, and
like
they're
brutally
really
killing Michael or Trevor. It just doesn't feel right for the rest of the game because they have so much hate between the 3 guys, but they're all very loyal to each other and they do like each other. And I can't imagine going with either of the other endings. I mean, maybe if you really didn't like Trevor or Michael, but I just can't see it. So, but that main ending is great. I was so pleased.
Yeah, the main ending is
great. You friggin' kill every one of your enemies and then
walk away happy.
And it was I was so surprised that Grand Theft Auto after 4, which was just the most depressing thing in the world, and Red Dead also was pretty, a good downer. It was so refreshing to have a happy ending for this game, and it was I was really pleased with how it all came together.
Yeah, it's a good ending. As I just said, I think the other 2 are kind of strange that the option is even there because they're not very satisfying. But
and they're so dark. I mean, man, jeez.
Yeah, both the deaths of Trevor and Michael are horrible. They're really brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're terrible people. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it's hard not to love them, and especially after such a long game, and you pull off all these heists together. It just anything other than the Death Wish ending just doesn't feel. It just doesn't feel right. I kind of wish they didn't even have it in there. I kind of wish it was just. This is the ending of the game, but whatever.
It's the true ending. It's the true ending.
Yeah, it really is.
So that's actually one thing we still haven't talked about is how much there is to do in the world.
Yeah.
Apart from the main missions, there is base jumping, triathlons, deep sea submarining. We didn't even talk about the fact that they mapped the whole of not the whole, but a lot of underwater coral reefs and the floor. Oh god, I can't. The sea floor.
Yeah,
That's the word I'm looking for. And how much they design for how little time you spend underwater. It's crazy.
The what are they called? The pastimes and hobbies and sports.
Tennis was really fun. I really like tennis.
I like golf. Golf was pretty fun. It took me a little bit of getting used to, but
I just hate golf in general, so that was me biased towards it from the start.
But I didn't like tennis. Tennis is kind of boring, I found.
I was the opposite. I really like tennis, but I'm British, so it's fine.
And it just never ends. Like, I don't get tennis. I don't know how long a game of tennis goes for, but I don't remember what I selected. But when I went to go play a game, I was playing for like 25 minutes, and
yeah.
After that, I was like, okay, there's no end in sight. I quit. I can't keep going like this. So, but yeah, the mini games are all there. I don't think. I mean, I will kind of just do them all once, and that'll be about it. But I know people that will spend a lot of time playing golf or tennis or darts, and you know they're there. It's cool that they're there.
And they're all very fleshed out as well. They're not gimmicks. They're all pretty well programmed mini attractions.
And yeah, there are a lot of. There's just it'll take a while to 100% this game. Like
yeah, you get a ridiculous amount for your money. We don't even know what's going to happen with GTA Online. Even if GTA Online didn't exist, just for the single player, you're getting so much time for your money.
Oh yeah, it's insane. Like even if you just beelined it and just did the campaign,
yeah,
you have like a 30-hour fantastic experience. But then there's also all the Strangers and Freaks missions, which are really funny.
Oh god, hilarious.
The rampages, which are the best part of the whole game. That Trevor just gets pissed at people calling him a motherfucker or making fun of his Canadian uprising. As a Canadian, I find all the Canadian jokes really funny, and the fact that he just gets so enraged by someone making fun of him saying a boot, you know,
yeah,
which is not a real thing. Okay, he's right. It's a fucking joke.
Oh, it's a nut, man. You just screw it back on. Hey, what are you doing here, citizen? I said, what are you doing here, citizen?
Nothing.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're clearly a tourist. Our friends from up north, eh? A boot?
Don't even say it like that.
There's a moose loose about the who's. Fuck off, you Hoosier. Hey, what's that about?
Fuck's sake!
Oh, Jesus.
It's a fake fucking accent.
Get out
You
of
can
here.
hardly
Come on,
tell.
Come on.
The rampages are hilarious. Like, oh man,
the comedy is so clever.
there's just so much to do. Like, if you can only get one game in a year,
oh yeah,
or you know, a couple of games in a year, this is the one to get. And online isn't even out, and you know, even if you don't have internet, there's just so much for you to do in this game. It's insane.
I think it is pretty easy to conclude. Everyone knows what the Grand Theft Auto franchise is like, and this is what a sequel should be. This has really pushed it further than, I don't know, any open world game has ever. So it's amazing.
Yeah, and it really shows not pumping out a game every year really. I mean, just like waiting for a game and them spending so much time and so much money on it. This is sort of like exactly what all massive, super expensive games should be like. If you know, every 5 years something like this comes out, it makes playing games and owning consoles worth it, because you know, this is, yeah, they've done so much with it and so close to the end of the generation. It's mind-blowing, and I'll have my Xbox plugged in for the foreseeable future to play this, because there's so much to do, and it's a hell of a game.
I think it's just nice to have video game companies around like Rockstar, who when they put, you know, their stamp on it, when you see the R on it with a star, you know this game's going to be exceptional. So it's nice that they're just one of the most consistent gaming companies out there. When they release a game, you're going to buy it and it's going to be exceptional. So they're just hitting it out of the park every time. So
5 stars.
Obviously. We were talking before it, and I think you've already pre-edited the 5 stars in without even talking to me. It's not even a question. It's 5 stars.
If for some reason you haven't purchased Grand Theft Auto 5, what are you doing with your life?
Nothing stops this train. Nothing.